Today I've got a great lesson from Richard of the Tennis Hacker, right? But he's no tennis hacker and you're no tennis hacker either. And when you watch today's lesson, remember Richard's part of TennisCon number 6, and we have so many awesome instructors part of TennisCon. Plus you can enter a free raffle to win a slinger bag and get a total tennis makeover from Tennis Express. You want to get your free ticket right now because we're doing this event in October, so make sure that you go in the card section right here or in the description box below to get your free ticket, enter those raffles, and enjoy today's lesson from Richard, and we'll see you guys on the next video.
Preparation is one of the most important parts of the forehand, because if you're not prepared, ready and set up in time, your chances of executing your shot go down dramatically. But despite how important it is, it's something that a lot of players struggle with, even players that have played for years. So what I'm going to be doing in this video is showing you how to address it. We're going to start by looking at the actual preparation, breaking it down and looking at the individual components, and then we're going to move on and start to talk about some of the things that hold you back and really prevent you from preparing on time, and talk about how you can address those as well. So we're going to define preparation as everything that happens before you start your forward swing. So we've got a few pieces going on. We've got the split step, we've got the ball recognition, we've got the unit turn and normally some kind of pivot step. We've then got the footwork and movement to the ball along with a final racket preparation. So what we need to do is break down all of those individual pieces, look at what we can do to improve them and what we might need to address when things are going wrong. The split step is a really important part of your preparation. That's why you see every single professional tennis player doing it on every single shot. It's not a nice extra thing. It's literally part of your stroke that's going to help you prepare. The idea is that you're going to be timing your split step so that you land just after your opponent makes contact. That means you'll be able to use the elastic in your muscle. Hopefully you'll be able to recognize where the ball's going really quickly, and then you'll be able to move into position. So there's going to be a few key things for the technique of the split step. The first one is that you land with a nice wide base. The reason that you want a wide base is because this allows you to push off quickly in any direction. If I land with my feet close together, it just doesn't allow me to move quickly to the side, or it doesn't allow me to move quickly to an inside-out forehand, which is one of the reasons that so many people struggle with the movement in different directions. So you've got to land with a nice, wide, stable base. The other thing that's going to go along with this is the knees are going to be a little bit bent. You're going to be on the balls of your feet, so then you can push off and react. If you're landing on your heels, again, that's not going to prepare you to move. So you need to make sure you've got that wide, stable base and you're landing on the balls of your feet, so then you can push off in different directions. Now, all of that is easier said than done, because in order to be able to do those things, you need to have the flexibility. So if you don't have the flexibility, you've got to spend time working on it until you are flexible enough to be able to do it. You also need a lot of strength in your feet and ankles and your legs to be able to do that split step for every shot of a 3-set match. And if you can't do those things, in order for you to prepare early as your match progresses, you need to make sure that you put the work in off the court so that you're capable of doing what you need to do on the court. The next physical part of your preparation is going to be the unit turn along with some kind of pivot step. Now, the unit turn is really simple. You're just generally rotating your upper body with your hand on the throat of your racket, and that is mostly your unit turn, where the upper body and the pelvis is rotating together. The pivot step is a little bit more complicated though, because before you can do the correct pivot step, you need to be able to read where the ball's going, and that is where a large part of people's problems come from. We'll talk about that towards the end of the video. What I'm going to do now is focus on the 3 different types of pivot step that you might need. Depending on what type of ball you're receiving, you've got 3 different pivot steps that go along with your unit turn. The first type of pivot step is the step that we're going to be using when we move for wide balls, when we've got to cover a lot of ground, or when we move back for deeper balls, when we've also got to cover a lot of ground. That is going to be a drop step. So for the drop step, I'm bringing my foot back underneath me, landing on the ball of the foot. The ball of the foot is generally going to be underneath this hip. My shin is pointing that way, so that then I can drive force and accelerate and cover a lot of ground that way. So this is what a drop step would look like if I'm moving to a wide ball. If I'm moving to a deep ball, it's very similar. I've still got to drop the foot underneath, but I'm just going to open up my pelvis a little bit more to move more in a diagonal direction. So that's the first variation. Now, when you watch the pros do it, you might get a little bit confused. You might think that they're stepping out. They're not. They're just pushing off this leg as well. So I'm going to land, push off this, and drop my foot underneath at the same time to help me cover more ground. But I recommend that you start by practicing doing the drop step where you bring the foot underneath, so get used to just doing the drop step, and then start to incorporate pushing off the outside leg as well. So that's variation one for the wider balls. For the deeper balls, where we've got to cover a lot of ground. The second variation is going to be where the ball's a little bit closer to us, either because we're going to be hitting from an open stance, or because we're going to be stepping out a small amount and then maybe stepping in for a neutral stance. This time, instead of bringing the foot underneath and landing on the ball of the foot, I'm going to be pushing off this leg, but I'm going to be pushing out. So I'm going to be stepping out and generally landing on the heel to do a little bit of a crab-like shuffle movement. Now this is fantastic when the ball's close, because you can step into balance and drive off your open stance, or you can step in. But you don't want to do this type of pivot step on wide balls. Firstly, it's slower. If I step out, the angle of my shin is pointing in the wrong direction, so I can't imply force into the ground, but also I'm going to be pulling with my hamstring and increasing the chances of injuring my hamstring. So this is only for balls when it's a little bit closer. Then the third movement that we've got is going to be a pivot step where we go to the inside out forehand. But this time, instead of pivoting with this leg, I'm going to be pivoting with this leg. So it's a drop step, but it's a drop step done with the other leg. So it'll be dropping underneath as you do the unit turn. Again, you'll be pushing with the other leg. So as I land, I'm going to push with this leg to push me in that direction. I'm going to drop this foot underneath and then push with the ball of the foot to assist with pushing me in that direction. And together, that's going to help me cover a lot of ground really quickly. For all of these movements, you want to practice them without the ball. So you just literally practice your drop step over and over again. Just get repetitions over and over again. Just work on it. You want to practice the shuffle step out to the ball. Just do repetitions over and over again. Same thing with the inside out footwork. And you want to practice this stuff without the ball there, so you can get the technique down, get it grooved into your system. So then when you're out playing your points, playing your matches, doing whatever you're doing, it's more likely to happen. Now that we've done that initial pivot step, we've got to look at the way you actually move to the ball. Now hopefully what you would have seen a moment ago is that when I'm moving to those wide balls, I'm doing a crossover step. So I bring the foot under on the drop step, and then I do a crossover step where my left leg crosses over my right leg. So when we're trying to cover a lot of ground, we're generally going to be doing it with big crossover steps. That's the same if I'm moving to the wide ball. It's the same if I'm moving to the deep ball. And it's also the same if I'm moving to an inside out forehand. It's a crossover step, but this time it's the left foot doing the pivot. It's the right foot coming around, but I'm crossing over behind rather than in front. So you want to practice it. You practice moving to the wide ball crossover step, the deep ball crossover step, the inside out ball crossover step. If the ball's closer, instead of doing that crossover step, I'm going to be doing a shuffle step where my feet don't meet. So if the ball is coming to my forehand side, but it's a little bit closer, I'll just do a little shuffle where the feet don't meet, or maybe I need to do 2 shuffles just to make sure I'm in the right position. I could do the same thing moving for a deeper ball. The feet don't meet. I can also do the same thing if I'm moving for an inside out forehand, or maybe it's hit down the middle, so I don't need a full crossover step. I can just kind of set up and just move out of the way and then hit my shot. We're also going to be using shuffle steps to help make sure you're in the right position, to make little adjustments to keep your balance before you initiate that forward swing. So often I might be combining the crossover steps with shuffle steps. If I move for a wide ball, but I'm not quite in the right position, so I add in a little shuffle step so that I can then get set up in the right position. Same thing for all of the other different variations of the forehand. And these adjustment shuffle steps can also be really important to help you prepare for what might be an easy ball. So a lot of the times when the ball's floating, people are really lazy with their footwork. They kind of get set in position and then the ball doesn't quite bounce in the way that they want. Whereas you can use these little shuffle steps just to kind of adjust forwards and adjust back. And if you watch the best players in the world, you'll see that they make lots of these little adjustment steps. Now, something that goes along with both of these or all of these footwork patterns is what you're doing with your head. And this is why it's so important to practice this footwork without the ball. Normally, if I'm moving in a direction, I'm going to look that way. So if I want to walk over here, I'm going to look in that direction. With tennis, I'm making really fast movements that way while I'm looking down that end of the court. That's really challenging for our balance system that lives in the inner ear. And that's potentially one of the big things that you're struggling with in terms of your preparation and movement. So you want to practice it. Initially, when you practice these movements, you just practice the drop step. What are my legs doing? Okay, I need to move into position. You're practicing the crossover step. Just be thinking about where you're moving to. But then practice this stuff with your head looking down there as if the ball's coming. So I'm practicing my crossover step, but my head is turned in that direction as I'm going in that direction. Same thing for the inside out forehands. I'm practicing these movements, doing what I would be doing with my head within the match. Okay, so now you know how you can start to practice and work on your movement and the physical part of the preparation. But what we need to talk about now is the thing that's probably holding you back, because this is what holds most players back, and that is the visual component and the ball recognition. Because after you land from that split step, before you can make the correct pivot step, either doing the drop step, the shuffle step, or obviously the inside out forehand, you need to know where the ball's going. And realistically, your visual system probably doesn't allow you to process where the ball's going quickly enough. That's why you land from the split step, and then instead of using the elastic from the muscles to help you react and move more quickly, there's this lag where your brain's trying to figure out where the ball's going, so you lose all the elastic in your muscles, and you're much slower to the ball. And then we've got the movement to the ball and the adjustment steps that you need to make. If your brain can't predict where the ball's going, it's really hard for you to do those things in time. And this is why you see so many players waiting for the ball to bounce on the service line before they actually take the racket back. It's not that and it's not probably that you don't know that you're supposed to prepare early. It's that your brain, your visual processing system, literally cannot predict and read where the ball's going, and that's why you're slow to react. So you know that you're supposed to prepare, you can see the ball's in the air, but your brain is using all of its energy trying to figure out where the ball's going, plain and simply because your visual system can't do it quickly enough. So if you want to prepare early, in addition to practicing and working on the footwork side of things and the physical preparation, you need to do work on your visual system to make sure that it can read where the ball's going. The good news is that's actually relatively simple to do once you know how. We can train the different eye movements that our eyes need to make. So we can track slowly moving targets. We can practice switching our eyes in different directions. We can practice changing focal length so that we can start to predict where the ball's going. We can address different visual issues that might be affecting our distance judgment and depth perception. We can also do different drills to help to train the parts of your brain that deal with spatial awareness, so then you can read and predict where the ball's going more quickly, so then you can start to use the appropriate footwork pattern. And when you combine the vision training with the movement training, you can really make massive differences in your ability to prepare early. So to help you with that side of things, I've created a free program to get you started. I'll place a link down in the description, and I'll also place a link up there so you can start to work on that. But there's one more thing that we need to talk about before we close out the video, and that's the way you practice. Obviously here I've talked about the footwork patterns, programming them in, training them so they become habitual. I've talked about training your visual system so you're actually capable of reading where the ball's going. But the way that you practice is also going to be important. In addition to doing those things, you need to make preparation a focus within your training. The mistake that a lot of players make is they try and work on too much stuff in one go. And I get it. Potentially there's lots of different components to your forehand that you need to work on. But what you need to understand is that your brain can only process so much information in one go. It's simply not possible for you to focus on the style of your split step, the way that you prepare, the footwork patterns, the precise way that you do your racket drop, the exact way that you do your racket lag and focus on 5 or 6 different things in one go. You need to choose 1 or 2 things to focus on at each time, and obviously if preparation is something you struggle with, that's what I recommend you start by focusing on, because that's what comes first, and if you don't get that part right, everything else goes out of the window. So you have to make that conscious decision to focus on your preparation when you're warming up, when you're doing your drills, when you're playing your points, when you're playing your matches. And you have to evaluate yourself on whether you prepare. What I mean by that is often players will prepare correctly or they'll do something correctly, but they'll miss the shot and then they'll beat themselves up and they get mad. You can't do that when you practice. For good quality practice, I've decided that I'm working on preparation, so I have to focus on that. So if I do my preparation correctly, I do a good split step, my movements, the ball's good, everything's good, but then I miss my shot, I can't get annoyed at myself because what I've done was all good up until that point. So I've got to evaluate my performance on that shot based on how well I prepared. I do that a number of times, achieve a number of repetitions until I've fixed my preparation problem. Once I've fixed my preparation problem by combining all these strategies, then I can start to worry about the stuff that comes after. But practicing in that way, along with working on the underlying stuff, is really the key to making sure that you're prepared and ready early for your forehand. Now, if you found this video helpful, it'd be awesome if you could give me a thumbs up. And if you haven't already done so, I'd really appreciate it if you could subscribe to my channel. Any questions or comments about what I've covered today, feel free to leave me a comment down below and I'll get back to you as quick as I can.
Okay, go subscribe to their channel. Remember to like this video. When you like this video, my buddy B2, he's going to give you a free 100 B2 puppy kisses. Also, don't forget, go get it, B2. Don't forget to get your free ticket to TennisCon number 6, because when you do, you're entered into a raffle to win a free slinger bag as well as a total tennis makeover from Tennis Express. So you don't want to miss out on that awesome opportunity. Go up in your card section right now, that little iCard circle in the corner of the video, or in the description box to click on the link, get your free ticket. That will allow you to see all the amazing instructors, free 48-hour access to each and every day. And it's an incredible event coming up here in October. You're gonna love it. Don't forget to subscribe to this channel so you don't miss our next video, and like it up. Remember, when you like this video, B2 is gonna give you a free 100 B2 puppy kisses when you like the video. When you subscribe, it's unlimited. So you might as well subscribe, and we'll see you guys on the next video.